And you're very welcome. This is Fintan Dunn for Irish First Mothers. With me is Cathy McMahon, the founder of Irish First Mothers.
Hi, Fintan.
Third session now in our inquiry into the treatment of Irish women who were unwed and pregnant. Cathy, perhaps you'd introduce that.
Today we're speaking to Maria, and Maria was in Dunboyne, Ardwira, Good Shepard, Dunboyne, in 1980 at the age of 16. So Maria's here with us now.
You're very welcome, Maria. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Fintan. Thank you, Cathy, for having me.
You know, knowing a little bit about your story, we should start even before you became pregnant and your relationship with the father of your child.
Yeah, I knew the father of the child from a very young age, and we had been going out together even though we were very young. And then I became pregnant, and I came from a very Catholic background, you could say. And it was the priest in the school which I attended, the chaplain, who I confided in that I was pregnant and asked him to tell my parents. So he went, and he was the one that broke the news to my parents. And then I was basically told that, there was no way I could stay at home and keep the child, that I had, there was a few options as such, if you like. There were options, but there weren't really options. It was Bessborough, Ardwira, Dunboyne, or go to a family.
Right.
So I did pick myself Ardwira, Dunboyne, because I actually knew Dunboyne.
Right.
It was familiar to me in some way.
Yeah.
Not Ardwira itself, but Dunboyne village.
Yeah.
So that's when I sort of said, well, at least I know where Dunboyne is, and, I know it's not that far away. So I went to Dunboyne in January 1980.
Okay.
All right. Well, presumably it didn't happen that quick. I mean, was it the chaplain that was the first to find out, or what about himself? When did he find out?
Oh, no, I told him first, and then I decided the easiest way around this to ease the brunt of telling the parents was to tell the school chaplain.
Right.
And asked him to tell my parents.
Okay, and how was the father of your child about the news?
He was fine. He was going to support me all throughout. We were both young at the time, which I would say.
Yeah.
But he was certainly going to support me the whole way, and...
Yeah, what was his situation? Was he still in education, or...?
No, he was working. He was working at the time.
Okay.
Now, not in a particularly great job, you could say, but he was working at the time. I was still in school. I was doing my leaving cert. So he was working at the time, and then I was doing my leaving cert.
And how were his family?
His family wouldn't really come in. He didn't have a very supportive background.
Okay.
They knew, but they weren't in the picture, let's put it that way.
Okay.
What was now pushing this thing forward, despite his willingness,
To be honest with you, I do think it was the whole religion thing, and, oh God, we better not tell the neighbours, and the shame, and what future you're going to have. If you have a baby, you're not going to have a future, and I really believed that that's what
drove it.
It was,
Yeah.
that drove it.
How far gone were you? How far into your pregnancy were you?
I was only about 3 months when I went into Dunboyne.
Wow, that was early on,
He wasn't born till June. Yeah, so it was early on, so I was there from January till June.
Right, yeah, that was a long time.
There was no choice. Like, what was the choice? You know what I mean? How are we going to survive? How are we going to do this on our own? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The choice was, there was no choice. Like, we would have been out on our own, and how could you have done it,
So, did he come visit you in Dunboyne? And
all the time in Dunboyne, yeah, all the time, a couple of times a week.
Yeah, and how did you find the treatment in Dunboyne, considering your circumstances, that the father of the child was supportive to you? Did you find that there was support there from, say, the nuns and that in Dunboyne?
No, I don't feel I was treated any differently because of my circumstances, but I certainly would have felt I was treated differently because I had a priest come and visit me all the time.
Okay, so
the school chaplain used to come and visit me all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They would ask me how the priest was,
Right.
Because the priest would be able to get in further than anyone else through the place. You know what I mean? He wasn't stopped at the visitors' doors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and did the priest play a role in the so-called choices that you had? As in, did you find he was putting pressure on you in relation to...
No, never.
No.
Never.
Okay.
Absolutely never mentioned it. He would come with me to see me, and before he would come, there would be a phone call to see what I needed. Did I need anything?
Right.
I smoked at the time, and he used to come armed with cigarettes.
Yeah.
Anything that I'd like to eat, but he never mentioned it, or he never would go on about it, or anything like that. He would always ask me how I was.
Right.
But he never would mention adoption or anything like that. Never.
Right. Yeah.
Don't ever recall him mentioning adoption.
Right.
Yeah. Were you in discussion with other girls at this stage? And how was your general treatment otherwise in Dunboyne progressing? How were you handling it?
I think my general treatment was okay. Of course, when you went in there, it was absolutely devastating. You know what I mean? Never been sort of away from home at a young age. To go in there and think, oh my God, the doors of this place, where am I? What am I doing here? How am I going to, survive this? Mm-hmm. But where I found that any type, that the girls themselves helped you because you were there for each other,
Yeah.
But as far as the nuns were concerned or anything like that, no.
No.
No. Not at all.
Yeah. And did you find that there was support for you? Was there any discussion in relation to after the birth, while you were pregnant, about the outcome following the birth from the nuns? Was there any discussion? There
was a nun. I do remember a nun speaking to me. But she wasn't a social worker as far as I was aware, because I don't ever remember seeing a social worker. But I remember talking to a nun one day, and she was saying, you have no other choice. This is it. Your baby's going for adoption.
Right.
And that's all I remember. I don't ever remember talking to a social worker or anybody, was there for you as such. No.
There was nobody came in specifically.
There was one way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there was one way and one way only, and that was it. Adoption, There wasn't another choice there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As your pregnancy progressed and as it became very, very real, did that start to change your feelings about it all, and how did that affect you as it...
Of course, but again, of course you get, this baby's growing inside you, what I mean? And you do feel it, but at the same time, I think my way of dealing with it was just pretend like this isn't really happening, or, just go into denial about the whole thing, it was my way of coping. It's the only coping mechanism that I really had, I didn't discuss it with anyone really, except with the girls, Of course you get to love, but you sort of say, I don't want to get attached, or I can't, I just can't get attached here.
Yeah, and the fact that there was no hope given to you, and there was no choices given to you.
There was no hope. There was no choices.
Yeah, and having been through the process myself, I suppose the way I describe it is, it's like you kind of went out of your body,
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely, an out of body experience, absolutely.
You just kind of went through the motions, and so I totally understand what you're saying in relation to that. You didn't think about it, because to think about it actually would have been, it was too painful. So you just got through day by day.
You couldn't go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about...
You just couldn't go there as far as, thinking about it, that, because it's just too painful. You can't do that,
Yeah.
And what about your family?
My father and my mother called an awful lot to see me, and would have taken me out on a regular basis. We would have gone out for dinner and stuff like that, collected me and brought me out, and I would have seen them twice or three times a week.
Okay. And how was the relationship with them,
Again, as I would say, I would have said I would have had a very close relationship to my parents.
Yeah.
But I wasn't discussed, because I just couldn't. I wouldn't discuss anything, because I just knew that there was no way that this baby was coming home and that my baby was coming home. So, it was never discussed. I would never, throughout the pregnancy, it was never ever discussed.
Yeah, it was just kind of,
it was just that was the way it was going to be. There was going to be he was going to be adopted, and that was the way it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. So, did you get any prenatal classes or anything like that in Dunboyne?
I remember Sister Claire doing some sort of a class with us, all right. Sister Claire was in charge there when I was there, or one of the nuns. She was a midwife as far as I remember. And I do remember doing a class with her on childbirth. But sure, we were still as green going in,
Did she have a doll, like made of material?
No, not that I remember of, no.
I have a memory of one of the nuns having a doll with a slit in the stomach. So there you go. They must have got worn out by the time you came along.
That's it, Kathy.
Yeah.
You must have. I don't remember a doll at all. I do remember doing a class with her because she was the one that used to bring us to Hollis Street on the visits.
In the bus.
Yeah.
In the bus, yes, in the minibus.
You might say that this taking out the dollies and showing how things work is a few years too late. That had all that dolly stuff been done earlier on, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
That's it.
Yeah. But nevertheless, take us forward to around the time of the birth and then how that progresses.
Okay, when it came to the birth, my biggest thing was I was not going in with the nun, or I wasn't going in the taxi. So I rang my dad when I went into labour.
Right.
I rang my dad directly. I didn't tell anyone inside. Told the girls, but I wouldn't have told any of the nuns that I was in labour. I didn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell anyone. But I rang my dad, and my dad had always told me no matter what time of the morning I could ring him.
Right.
And he would collect me. So I rang my dad and he came out, and when I knew he would be around nearly there, then I said, my dad is on his way. He'll be here in a minute. So I went in, my dad brought me in, he left me at the doors of Hollis Street, and I went in, and it was probably the worst experience in my life of the birth of him. It was horrendous, left in a room. It was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
Because you were just scared. Nobody explained anything to you. Nobody.
And there wouldn't have been anybody allowed to stay with you?
No, there wasn't anyone allowed to stay with you.
No.
You were scared stiff on your own. I remember being in a room on my own and actually screaming.
Yeah.
And they were saying, oh, come in. They came in and they were giving out to me, saying I was upsetting everybody in the ward. And I said, all I want you to do is get someone to sit with me, to be with me. And it's just someone to sit there and just know you're not on your own in this,
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. It's hard to believe that, isn't it?
Oh no, it was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful. I think, it leaves an awful mark on you because you're just so scared, and you're thinking, oh my God, what's, no pain relief, no nothing.
Yeah, and so you didn't get any pain relief?
Yeah. No. Nothing was ever offered to me.
Well, you're
it's like, you'll suffer.
You're segregated now on your own, but presumably when your waters break, you're become part of the normal delivery procedure in the hospital now, do you? What happens?
Yeah. No, I was in, after they came in and told me to stop shouting, then I said, just leave a midwife with me, leave somebody with me, don't leave me in this room by myself. And then when I had someone then, but he was born very quickly after that.
Right. So how long was your labour in total? Do you know?
Oh, it wasn't very long. It was only I got there about 8:30 and he was born at 1 o'clock.
Right. Long enough. After your baby was born, did you get to see him?
I did. I had him for 5 days in the hospital. I minded him for 5 days in the hospital. And I had him christened in the hospital. By the priest, my friend the priest, he came in because he came to visit me and I asked him, would he christen?
Yeah.
I just felt, I wanted to christen him, and we did that in the hospital. And I had him for 5 days in the hospital, but I found it very hard to pick him up and feed him. If there was anybody in, I would pass him to them. Yeah. And the only reason being, again, I didn't want to bond. I didn't, I knew this was going to be hard. So it was like, I knew there was no way out of, adoption. So I used to hand him. I was in a semi-private room, I always remember, and there was a girl with me that was very, very nice. And I would say to her, will you pick him up and feed him? Or, you know, or would you go down to the nursery with him? Or will you bring him up to the nursery for me? Because I'd never wanted to go down to the nursery. I just used to, you know, I would stay in that room. Yeah. Mainly, I hardly ever went out of it. You know, so especially up and down to the nursery, she would certainly go up and down and get him and collect him.
Yeah, it was like a self-protection.
Back, you know, I would... Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose, was there ever a moment when you were allowing yourself to feel the moment?
I think it was very painful. You know, of course you'd sit there crying, you know what I mean? But, you know, I think to me it happened, you know, after when I left him at the adoption agency, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's when it was... You know, and then I had to go back to Dunboyne, sit at leaving cert. How I ever sat, to this day, I can't understand.
Wow. How
I went back to Dunboyne and sat in a chair to do leaving cert.
Yeah. And did his dad come to see him in the hospital?
Dad? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He did come to see him, yeah. He did come to see him. And, so then I brought him on... The 5th day, I brought him down to the adoption agency on St. Patrick's Guild on Haddington Road. I brought him down there myself and handed him over, which was hell. And where I was told that he was going to be placed in Temple Hill in Blackrock for a while until the adoption. I was told that. That was the only thing I do remember being told. Because I knew he'd been in Temple Hill.
Right.
But it was just impossible. You were going back to do a leaving cert. Then I was coming out of boarding school, as everybody thought I was, back home to live a normal life.
Yeah.
You know, that's a normal life, you know.
Yeah.
Why, you know, as you parted, how did your feelings towards the whole thing then begin to shift again? Because it must have started to shift then.
Oh, yeah, it did, absolutely. You know, I felt anger, I felt everything. I remember being very angry, you know, very hurt, very depressed.
What exactly made you angry?
I was angry at the whole thing. I was angry that he had to be adopted. You know, that I had to give my baby, I had no choice. I remember being really angry, I remember really, really being angry and really sad at the same time when I handed him over to be adopted.
Yeah, and then as you said, you had to go on and go back to Dunboyne and do your leaving cert. I mean...
Go back and do leaving cert. I remember sitting exams and just being in another world, never mind, you know, sitting there and being in a completely different planet. You know, thinking, oh my God, look at the time, will I ever get out of this exam, you know? Just there's too much time to think, you know, and when you're on your own and in that silence in the room.
Yeah,
even though you're supposed to be doing an exam, but it's very tough, you know.
Yeah.
What about the...
It was a miracle, got a leaving cert, you know. I don't know how I did it, but you know, it was just so surreal, you know. You're sitting there and I remember sitting there and just, you know, literally closing your eyes and thinking, you know, what was going through your head and, you know, how could all this happen so quickly from having a baby to back in sitting leaving cert, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there talk about it? Were you able to talk at home now about how you were feeling? Were you asked?
No, I never spoke. I had one very good friend that was very close to me. We grew up together, primary school, secondary school, everything. She was a very, very close friend. And her house was my escape because she was a really good friend and she lived beside me. She was the one that I would have had more than anyone, nearly. Because it was too painful even for me to talk about it to the child, to the father of the child at the time. I just found it all too painful.
Yeah.
You know, I felt it was too much pain. I'm bringing up pain for him. I was bringing up pain for me. Whereas my friend, yes, she was a very, very good friend. But she was there, like, I think in a lot of ways at that time of my life, I don't know what I would have done if I had not had her by my side.
Yeah.
Her house was a very, you know, nice house, and her mum and dad were there. Now they knew, never mentioned anything, never, but they were lovely. I always knew, they always told me, I had a home there, and it was a very safe place for me.
Yeah.
It was my haven sort of thing, that I could go there.
So what we're talking about...
But I couldn't discuss it.
You couldn't even, because of the pain involved, even discuss it with the father of your child. How did How did things move on between you and him?
Well, I ended up marrying him.
Right.
We ended up getting married, and we have we went on to have 4 more children.
Right.
We're still together.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, things went on well, but for many years it certainly was not discussed for many years.
Yeah.
Mainly due to myself, I would say. Because I just couldn't. I didn't want, I just found it was too painful to go there.
Massive trauma, I mean...
Massive trauma.
Yeah.
Well, just give us an idea, how long afterwards did you have your next child?
2 years.
Right.
So it was, and that was hard. That was very hard, because I went to have him in Holland Street.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, talk about opening all the wounds. Even though I knew I was taking him home,
Yeah.
it was the same place. Oh my God, I thought out of it I'd never get. I literally wanted to have him and go out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was just too painful to go back with all those memories of Holland Street, and the wounds were far too open to, and I just wanted out of there.
Yeah.
Completely out of there, because, one doctor did say to me, are you going to give this child up for adoption too? I always remember that saying, and the pain of that. Oh, it was drapsy, it was...
Yeah.
There's no words that can describe what that way that felt to me. It was like, we'll put salt into your wounds already. You know what I mean? We'll really rub it in here for you.
Yeah.
Did you get any opportunity even to reconsider or consider the matter when you officially signed papers? Was there an occasion there to make a final decision in regard to this infant?
No, there wasn't.
What was the circumstances? Who's there in the room?
The solicitor, my mum was with me, but there wasn't at that stage any option to. No, it was just, this was the way it was going to be, and there was no other option given, or I couldn't see a way out. You know what I mean? You're young. There was. What do you do? Where do you go?
And
no, there wasn't an option.
Yeah. How long afterwards was that, and what age were you then?
So I would have been 17. I think it was around 6 months after, if I remember rightly.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure on the dates, but I'm guessing in around 6 months.
Yeah, it was usually in around 6 months.
Maybe a little before that. Yeah, as far as I remember, it was around 6 months.
Yeah.
When you got home with your new baby,
the second infant,
your second child, could you feel that in any way healing what had happened before, or how did you feel now about what had happened before?
It was very difficult, it was great to be able to bring this child home, but it was very difficult at the same time, because all your wounds are open, as I said, and the feeling, the heartache of the depression.
Yeah.
But you just, for me, I didn't say anything. But I'm not looking back now. I know, it had a terrible effect when I ended up on antidepressants and, under psychiatrists, everything. But I know where, I always knew where it stemmed from, but I was never willing to talk about it. And
were you able to talk to the psychiatrists about your past? So that they might... I did to
one psychiatrist at one stage, and she was lovely. She was a lovely lady. And what she did was she put me into group therapy.
Right.
With the doctor. And I will never, ever forget it. I ran from the place. Because I thought, oh my God. I imagine, you've never spoken to anybody, and then you're going to group therapy.
Yeah.
What was she thinking?
Yeah.
There's no way I was doing that.
It doesn't sound like... Yeah, it doesn't sound at all appropriate as a way of helping someone to come to terms with something so private, so...
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. And I was always dreading, that anyone would find out. And I was totally paranoid, I knew people knew, because I wasn't stupid. I was at school age. Some of my friends knew. I knew people knew. But I was very much living a life of avoidance, where if I thought somebody might know or somebody might recognise me or it was always... I was always dodging and sort of not going out or making excuses as to why I couldn't go out.
Yeah.
And it was more to do with that, that somebody might say something or, mention. It was anything but, don't mention the adoption.
Yeah. Well,
Don't mention anything about the baby I had adopted,
Yeah. As time went on, even in your relationship and among yourself and your close friends, was there ever any connecting of dots? Was either your partner or somebody else talking to you and saying, "Look, we have to address what happened way back then"? Did you ever get to that point?
A lot of people would.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I did, but I couldn't address it. It wasn't for years later that I could address it.
Mm-hmm.
No, people say, "Oh, you have to address this. You have, this is the main problem, if you like. This is why you are the way you are." But it wasn't for many years later until I got into counselling. And the first lot of counselling didn't work either. You know what I mean? I went for several sessions in and out of counselling until I was ready to speak about it.
Yeah.
And I was ready. It wasn't like, people were saying, "Oh, you need counselling and you need this." Yeah, that's all very well said until you're ready to do it. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I had gone in, started it, thought, "Oh no, I don't want to go there. I'm not opening that can of worms." Back out of it.
Yeah.
Then back in. It was like, it's too painful. I can't go here. And it's only when I wanted to go myself and realise, well, I have to face this. I have to talk about it. I have to go the way I felt about it. It's only until I wanted to do it that things started to, if you like, get better, you know what I mean, in the sense of I could live with it and I could talk about it, and up to that I wouldn't have spoken about it,
And why do you think, and this might be a stupid question, but why do you think you couldn't talk about it? Was because of the flood of anger that might come out? I mean, I know the grief and the sadness.
The grief, the anger, the sadness, everything together, Kathy.
Yeah.
I just thought I would explode if I I just thought maybe I'll cry and I'll never stop, or, I just couldn't. I just couldn't speak to anybody about it.
Yeah, and
everybody sort of knew why I was the way I was. I know that now. People would know the way I was, but don't mention it to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've found over the years, even with myself and other people who I've spoken to, that the anger that we feel, that if we address that anger, we're afraid because we're going to hurt other people. With the anger that we might need to express. But until we actually feel safe enough and secure enough that we can express the anger, it's not hatred, it's just anger.
No, it's not hatred. It's not hatred at all,
Yeah.
Kathy. It's just anger like that. You're angry the way things worked out. You're angry the way, you just had to, there was no option for you. This was the way things were, and, I think, like that. Until I know for me, until I was ready to do the counselling, as I said, I went in, I touched on the subject, oh God, I can't go there, get out again. You know what I mean? Until, it's only in fairly recent years that I have, I did a lot of work on this and went for a lot of counselling,
Yeah.
which I have to add cost me a fortune over the years, in and out. In and out of it, but listen, I am where I am today because of it, and getting the help that I need. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And in later years, yes, I did speak to my parents about it.
Very good.
My parents did start to speak about it when I was younger, but I just couldn't go there. Just couldn't. And my mum, particularly, My dad was a very quiet man. My mum said, "Oh my God, that was the worst thing we ever did. We should have never done that.
Yeah.
This was the worst thing in our lives, So I know it was very difficult on her too, and on my dad, because they're real family people,
Yeah.
I think myself, and I really, really believe that it was all led by the Catholic Church, and it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
In society. I really do.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that, if you like, was your initial contact point. But then you had an entire social and state-supported structure sitting there with welcoming arms to welcome you into this wrong choice for you. Great choice for everybody else, wrong choice for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sympathise with your parents. I do. I think that you do also.
Yeah.
I think you were all let down.
Yes, I do, yeah.
You were let down by the people around you.
I think we were all let down. Yeah, we were all let down,
But I think it's
I don't hold blame towards them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hold blame, and I don't hold bitterness. I don't. I think the way society was and the way things were, it was at the time seemed to be the right thing to do, if you like, But it wasn't. It was anything but the right thing to do. The suffering and the pain that you go through all your life.
Yeah. I think that what you're saying in relation to your parents, that I don't want to sound, condescending or whatever, but fair play to your parents for having it in them to express, what they express to you. Because I think that's...
Oh, yeah, they did.
And I think that that's possibly all it would take, is that we all make mistakes,
Yeah, that's it.
And instead, what's happening with a lot of, and we know this, with an awful lot of, families, is that instead of everybody just sitting down and talking about what happened in the past without judgment and saying how it was for them and just helping to heal, that, instead of just doing that, people are just digging their heels in harder, and it's making it more painful. So I think fair play to your parents.
Ah, yeah, absolutely. And I think also that the support that you did get in the difficult situation that you were in, both from the chaplain and from your parents, misguided though it was, nevertheless, that helped to alleviate some of the what might have compounded the trauma and driven it even deeper, and indeed did for other people. The lack of that support was it made a critical difference, and maybe that was a positive difference for you. But have you reconnected ever with your child, with your son?
I have. I have only reconnected with him this year in January.
Very good.
Which was fantastic.
Brilliant.
Again, though, this is where I'd love to. Trying to get the reconnection through TUSLA and social workers was a terrible experience.
Okay, so how did you do it?
We did it ourselves. We went into the GRO offices, General Registry Office. We got the birth certs.
Yeah.
I went to Roscommon the next day. We found the boys that were adopted, were for adoption on that date of birth.
Right.
Then we went to Roscommon the next day. Both of us went to Roscommon the next day. We went to Roscommon, and we've now 3 birth certs with 3 addresses in Ireland. And so then what I did was I got onto the Adoption Authority of Ireland, and I asked for some non-identifying information, which I have to say took quite a few. It didn't come that easy for me.
Yeah.
I had been onto them several times to get this.
Right.
And I got from the Adoption Authority of Ireland, I got non-identifying information. With the non-identifying information, I was able to pick out which one of the 3 was my son.
Brilliant. Straight
away, because of the date of adoption.
Right.
The different dates of adoption were on it. So at that stage, I contacted TUSLA to get a social worker. Now, up to this, I've been told I was going to be waiting, and I'd be put on the list because the records from St. Patrick's Guild had been locked up and they were in dispute, and they hadn't been handed over. So I rang a social worker and I said, listen, I found him myself. Right? But I said, I need to talk to a social worker because I want advice on how to contact him.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, they did give me a social worker. I went to meet her. She was a nice lady, but I don't think she did a whole lot for me. She said she would like be the mediator between us to go and make appointments or to contact him and whatever. I had given a letter and a photograph of myself to pass on to him. And her answer was one day when I said, did the letter go? No, we had a meeting and we decided. That's not the right way to go.
Right.
So that finished me.
Yeah.
I was quite hurt, and so my husband took it into his own hands without me knowing, to be honest with you, and contacted him directly.
Brilliant.
Decided this was enough. And we had a great response. We were very lucky.
Very good.
But as my husband said, he's an adult. He's going for 38. He's not a child. We're not messing, or 37, should say. But he's not a child, and and he was very responsive straight away.
All right.
So, I'm so glad we went down that road, because I just feel we could have been years waiting.
You could have been, from what the stories we've
years,
heard.
I really do.
Yeah.
And, how long did you lose time-wise? How short should that have
we
been?
did it very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it very quickly in the end. We did it ourselves very, very quickly, because we went, as I said, and nothing. So we said, right, we'll get, we'll find out how you do this. And we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not that difficult thing to do at all.
Very good.
I would recommend anyone that's looking for an adult child. Certainly, the social workers, as far as I'm concerned, just want to, push paper around and have meetings about meetings.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't feel both of us felt we didn't, we would be still waiting.
This is an aspect I want to bring out, and I want to bring out in this, that, like, speaking to you, that we're talking about your loss and your husband's loss.
Yeah.
And your husband, and we see it so often, and I've seen it from various politicians and so on, where are the fathers of these children? And what I would say is that a lot of the fathers of the children, maybe not all of them, but there are a large amount of them who were quite prepared to take responsibility and to have some input into the child's life. So for you, Maria, with your husband, and I want to acknowledge that this was your husband's trauma too.
Oh, it absolutely was. Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that maybe perhaps if your husband would like to talk to us about what it was like for him, I'd like you to let him know that we're here for him too.
I will, by all means, and I'm sure he will speak to you.
Yeah, because I'm sure, here we are, and you're not the only one, because we know of several others where girls who had babies taken from them went on to marry the fathers of their children. And,
that's right,
so there are men out there, including my own second daughter's father, would have taken responsibility for his child, except he was treated, he wasn't the one that was pregnant, but he was treated similarly to how I was treated, an outcast.
Oh, yeah.
The fathers were also treated as outcasts.
Yeah. The Tusla had got to be aware of the fact that you and your husband were looking for your son, and yet you still got the runaround.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I just have to say something. I just have to say something here, and maybe saying it with your agreement and partly on your behalf. Bureaucrats and administrators, you need to realise you had no business interfering in the way you did in these people's lives, and you need to respect them when they then come trying to put their lives back together again before you so ineptly interfered. And giving people the runaround is just unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is unacceptable, Fintan. Absolutely unacceptable. You know, you go to these people who are the professionals to get help, and you're given the runaround, and you're given no help.
And if anything, they actually cause more damage.
They do. They hinder. I'm telling you, they do. You know, so, you know, I'm so glad, like, you know, my husband, as I said, took it into his own hands, you know, because he was afraid that maybe he'd upset me if I was saying, oh, no, I just don't mess it up. You know, that was a bit more the thing. But no, he took it in his own hands and contacted him directly.
Fair play to him.
It worked out so well, so well.
Brilliant.
Like we'd be in contact on a very regular basis.
And it's going well.
Very well. Couldn't ask for, you know, there's my child back. That's the way I look at it. My child's back.
Yeah, both
very
of your child. So. You know,
Yeah, both. Our child is back. You know, if I was to die tomorrow, and I mean this, I would be very happy. I am a very happy woman now.
You're bringing tears to my eyes.
That's
I am so happy.
Yeah.
Did you hear
it was always he was always on my mind.
Yeah.
I never knew whether I was going to get that opportunity ever to meet him again.
Yeah.
I have a regular contact with him, and
Brilliant.
It's just wonderful.
And his other brothers and sisters have met him?
Oh yeah, God, they chat nearly on a daily basis.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, you know.
The difference it's made to you, personally?
Oh, it's huge. The difference it's made to both of us.
Yeah.
It's just, as I said, my life is complete.
Yeah.
Mm. Did you hear?
I just feel like a whole person again.
Yeah. Did you hear our interview with Claire?
I did.
Yeah, and she said similar to what you're saying about her life feeling complete with the
feeling
reunion.
complete.
Yeah.
That's another warning.
It is.
Yeah, it's another warning to those who would in any way get in the way of this process. That's what you're standing in the way of, is that kind of healing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know, and as I said, my life is so. I never. You know, this was the day. That was the day I was waiting for all my life, not knowing if it was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But it took for us to do it.
Yeah. And when you think that only last year...
No help.
Yeah. When you think that only last year when we had our little conference in Dunboyne, and I don't think we ever thought that... You never thought that we'd have... You know, today we'd be talking and you'd be saying that you'd reunited.
Yes, yep. I never thought that it would be that soon, Kathy, ever. And thanks to Irish Mothers and the support...
Yeah.
Because the support has just been wonderful. To Kathy and to you, Fintan, the support, and I would say to anyone that needs any type of support or going through anything, we are all there for each other. We all know what us mothers have been going through.
Yeah, and I'm getting to know it. Just to emphasise that if you do want to join with other women who have really benefited from coming together on Facebook, and if you're 78 you can learn how to use Facebook, and you have a granddaughter who can teach you how to use Facebook, believe me.
Exactly.
And you should be on, and you should join up, and I'm not in that group because I did not give birth to anything. But I'm just helpful in terms of getting the story out. But it is a confidential group, therefore, and anything that you say is in confidence in that group. It seems a terrific support. Glad to hear you say that, Maria.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is a terrific support.
Yeah.
As I said, we're all there for one another, and it's a terrific support.
And we'll all get to meet up again soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we will, and that's great. That's something to look forward to, and to be there for each other. It's just, it's marvellous to have it.
Yeah.
There was a bill in the Senate, which maybe the government was having some more thoughts about before bringing it forward, and it proposed to place the kind of information you're talking about in the hands of TUSLA. From your experiences with the Tusla organisation, would you recommend that, or do you think something else needs to be done?
Mm-hmm. No. Unless it completely changes, and I mean completely changes. Mm-hmm. What do they do for people? Nothing.
Yeah.
I have first-hand experience. Nothing. Give you a social worker, make appointments with you, promise you the sun, moon and stars, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
I gave them a letter, I gave them my photograph. I said, would you please mind passing this on? No, we had a meeting. Who's we?
Yeah.
We had a meeting and we decided that's probably not the best. You know, when I discovered where my son was, I thought I would go to the professionals to help me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to help, you know, to do it the right way, because, you know, you want to do it the right way so things will work for you, such. But absolutely not. I'd say everyone steer clear.
Yeah. And go with your gut instinct.
Don't go near them. Go with your gut instinct. If you're dealing with an adult, go with your gut instinct.
And have you engaged with the Commission of Inquiry?
I have.
And how do you find?
I have. Well, I told my story the same way as I'm telling my story to yourselves.
Yeah.
Again, I have said the same thing. You know, what we suffered.
Yeah.
Throughout, you know, our experiences as mothers, what we suffered over the years, and what we suffered again when we're trying to make contact and going through social workers, everything, and nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I made that very clear.
And what would you like to see coming out of the likes of the Commission of Inquiry?
I want the truth.
Yeah.
You know, I want the truth to come out. I don't think it's, you know, what I'd like to see is the truth once and for all.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many things, you know, where the truth isn't. And listen to the mothers. Listen to their stories.
Yeah.
They're the ones that'll tell you.
Yeah.
Listen to what they went through.
Yeah. Whereas what we actually
That's
find...
what I want to see.
What we actually find, like, and even within the group, is that there are, some of the older mothers who applied within weeks of the commission starting its work, and they haven't even had an acknowledgement. And that's 2 years now, and they still don't know when they're going to be called, whether they'll ever be heard, and they're still waiting. You know?
They need to contact them now.
Yeah.
And let their story be told.
Yeah.
Mm. You know, you did go to the commission, you know, so presumably that's because you felt like there's unfinished business there as far as you're concerned.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think people need to tell their story, Fintan. Mm-hmm. I think the mothers need to tell their story. I think the commission need to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have to be out there to tell their story. It's so important.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're doing it right now. Maybe this is a job the government should have done, but I tell you what, maybe it's in good hands because it's in the hands of the mothers. And you're telling your own stories, and I'd like to thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and to wish you and your entire family the very best. Maria, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It's been very interesting listening to you, and you know, this is going to be very helpful to other mothers too.
Yeah. Okay, just stay on the line if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you very much, Fintan, and thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you, Maria.
No problem. Just stay on the line, Maria, and we'll just let folks know that we will be speaking to another living witness on Thursday of this week, our fourth living witness.
And that lady would have been in St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's
on the Navan Road.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Fintan.
Hope you can take the time to join us for that. See you then.
We walk the road now, the road of darkness. We walk that road till the very end. We could not see before the sunset. We could not see before the dawn. The feel of strength now in your father's arms, with no fear or no alarm. I've come here to unlock your dreams, dispel the darkness, draw the light so near.